Ahead on Sanctuary, the significance and local impact of the election of Pope Leo XIV.
Welcome to Sanctuary, bringing you conversation and stories at the intersection of life and faith. This edition of Sanctuary is produced in cooperation with the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Sanctuary. I'm your host, Shayda Safapour, an executive board member of the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago. Today we gather at a truly historic moment for the global faith community. Just weeks ago, the world witnessed the election of Pope Leo XIV, the first North American pope, a Chicago native, a man with deep roots in Latin America, known for a commitment to social justice. His early messages have touched on everything from building bridges between faith communities to the ethical challenges of artificial intelligence to the church's enduring mission to serve the poor and the marginalized. Joining me to explore the significance and expected impact of this papacy are three remarkable faith leaders from Metropolitan Chicago. Bishop Simon Gordon, senior pastor of Triedstone Church of Chicago, Rabbi Yehiel Poupko, rabbinic scholar at the Jewish United Fund, and Sister Barbara Reid, president of the Catholic Theological Union. Together, we'll reflect on what this moment means, not just for Catholics, but for people of all faiths, seeking hope, justice, and unity in a rapidly changing world. Welcome to Sanctuary. Let me begin by asking all three of you, what is the significance of the election of Pope Leo XIV from your perspective and your faith's perspective? Sister, why don't I start with you?
Thank you, Shayda. Well, one of the things that is so exciting about the election of Pope Leo is that he was educated at a school that was firmly founded right after Vatican II and embodying all of the values and renovated spirit that Vatican II embodied, and that's the school, Catholic Theological Union, where he got his grounding in theology and in preparation for ministry. And so what the election of him as Pope does, it's validating both the directions that Vatican II set, but also the way that we have seen Pope Francis take those directions the next steps. Pope Leo was very close to Pope Francis, and so it's quite a certain thing that he will follow in that same direction in his own way. But so, for example, the embodiment of trying to preserve what is best from our tradition, but also responding to the needs of today. And he embodies that very clearly in the way that he has done his ministries. And some of the priorities that Pope Francis set, so many of us were very hoping that the next Pope would continue those priorities and respond in a new way for the new challenges of today. But such an emphasis on a church for the poor, of the poor, not only ministering to the poor, but to people who are poor, but accompanying them and advocating for them. And so we saw so frequently Pope Francis was very strong in attending to migrants and refugees, people on the margins, people of different sexual orientations, people who felt excluded and unheard. We saw Pope Francis make appointments of women to very important positions and to begin to open doors that had not been open to women before. And of course, most recently, his synods on synodality, changing our mindset about how decision-making is done and who does it and how. And those were very important steps forward for us, having every voice in the church significant and heard, listened to, everyone together trying to discern where the Spirit is calling us, and then deciding in a process of discernment. What is the path forward? And I expect that Pope Leo, who has so much embodied what Pope Francis has done, that he will also continue in those same directions. So that's one of the most exciting things for me. And as a woman religious, it's very exciting to have another Pope who is a member of a religious order, and that there's a different spirit, a different charism that comes with that.
Lovely. Well, truly a lot of meaningful, it seems like, continuations and symbolism and characteristics that hopefully will help further and unify the faith communities. Thank you for that. Bishop Gordon, what are your impressions of this election? What significance does it have from your perspective?
One of the things, Shayda, that I'm really happy about with the entire process is the historical tie to the Council of Religious Leaders of Metropolitan Chicago. Because, first of all, the Pope emanating from our particular area, Pope Leo, gives us a great, encapsulates a great opportunity for us to embrace really what our ecumenical grasp really is and what it can be. Part of our effort as a council is to make sure we take those 40 different faiths that we are connected to, that represent so many people across Chicagoland area, and unite for the causes of helping community people, embracing faith and safety, and keeping, making life better for all of us as we practice and believe that God is our present help wherever and however we are. And then the historical part of it, that over 40 years ago, that it was Cardinal Bernardine that was the catalyst and really putting together and igniting the Council of Religious Leaders. And for it to come this far, and then we get a Pope from our region, from our country, and now from our city area, it's wonderful, because it makes me feel like the thing we have that's different than any other place I've been in the country, the group of believers in God across the entire scope that are willing to come together and to work for the causes of good for humanity.
So special. I agree with you. It truly kind of validates the mission of the Council of Metropolitan Chicago and Religious Leaders. I think that is a lovely, lovely comparison.
Yes.
And Rabbi, may I ask also your perception and impression of this election of Pope Leo XIV?
His election is enormously important to the Jewish people. And I'm going to begin with a story told to me by His Eminence, the late and lamented Francis Cardinal George. When I visited with him the last time in his last few days or weeks in this life, he said to me, "Don't worry, when you and I are gone, the Catholic-Jewish relationship will continue on just fine, because for us, friendship with Judaism and the Jewish people is doctrinal. It's part of our very belief system." Along comes Pope Leo XIV, and he follows in a very great tradition of what I call performance theology. Performance theology means when a pope doesn't just issue a statement, of which the church does often, but rather acts out certain beliefs. When Pope John Paul II, who grew up playing soccer with young Jewish kids in Poland in the 1930s, when he came to Israel in March of 2000, he went and prayed at the wall in Jerusalem, thereby signifying that the church no longer had a religious objection to the Jewish people returning home. When Francis came to Israel, he paid homage at the grave of Theodor Herzl, the founder of Zionism. When popes engage in this kind of performance theology, they demonstrate their natural doctrinal friendship for us. We are the community of the few, 15.7 million in the world. The church is the community of the many, 1.3 billion. We need the friendship of the church, and we are confident, we're certain that moving from John Paul II to Benedict, from Benedict to Francis, and now Francis to Leo XIV is going to be perfectly smooth and natural in the Catholic Church's relationship with the Jewish people.
This is so heartwarming. Thank you for sharing that. What a precious memory and experience to have had that interaction. I think you're right. We've got a profound opportunity here to demonstrate and emulate what they've set forth, which is letting actions and not just words truly prove the point of building bridges. And hopefully we will continue that spirit in our own communities as well. Thank you for that. Now, Bishop Gordon, given Pope Leo XIV's emphasis on social justice and inclusion, what opportunities do you see for deeper collaboration between Catholic and historically Black church communities, especially in urban centers like Chicago?
Well, Chicago, in many instances, seems to be an anomaly. We have one of the most popular priests with Father Flager in the country. and he is in the bedrock in the city of Chicago, right between the Grand Crossings and the Inglewood area. And he works constantly with the police department and those issues and matters to happen. But before then, we cannot forget Father Clemens, who as well was very strong in making sure that he was intricate in changing the fabric and joining together with the Protestant churches, as well as with the other faiths, to make sure that equity and opportunity happen in urban areas. What I see, and I'm looking forward to, is having a more increased relationship between the church. And it's part of the reason why I became a part of the Council of Religious Leaders, because I wanted to see the fact that as we come together, it is our synergy that creates this opportunity for us to have a great chemistry. And that chemistry is the only thing that changes the culture. So when we work it all together, between working together, formation, and then implementation, we have an opportunity to see culture shift in our atmosphere, and we are experiencing pieces of that right now.
So well said and so invigorating. Thank you. In a moment, we will continue our conversation with our guests. We'll be right back.
Metropolitan Chicago is one of the most religiously diverse areas in the world, and for more than a half-century, Sanctuary has reported and reflected on our faith-filled community. Sanctuary tells stories of faith from both inside our houses of worship to the streets and neighborhoods where faith is acted out every day with acts of kindness and concern. From food pantries to peace initiatives, from worship services to servicing the poor, Sanctuary has a proud history of reporting on the goodness that flows from our faith traditions. Watch Sanctuary every Sunday at 12 noon.
Welcome back to Sanctuary. I'm Shayda Safapour, and we are talking about the significance and local impact of the election of Pope Leo XIV. Rabbi Poupko, in the 60 years following the Second Vatican Council, relations between Jews and Catholics have changed significantly. What do you see for the future of this relationship under Leo?
You begin your question at a very important point. The single greatest change in Christian religious thinking in 2,000 years took place when in Vatican II, the Catholic Church, leading the entire Christian world, changed its religious thinking about the Jewish people. Heretofore, we were seen as having been exiled and wandering the world homeless for the sin of rejecting the messiahship of Jesus Christ. And secondly, we were seen as having no relationship left with God. The consequences of that were for us, for 2,000 years, devastating. Along came John the 23rd, better known in his earlier days as Eugenio Roncalli, a man who saved the lives of Jewish children in Bulgaria and Turkey during the Holocaust. And he changed all that by sheer force of his goodness and his will. It also changed because wonderful American bishops came to the council and said, the Jewish people are our friends and neighbors in America. We can't continue to say these things about them. In the 60 years, the church has been absolutely faithful to that promise. How so? In 1974, in the Notes to Nostra Aetate, the Roman Catholic Church said something to us that no other Christian church has ever said. It said to the Catholic faithful, you have to understand the Jewish people in Judaism as the Jewish people in Judaism understand themselves. Everyone who has sat on the seat of the papacy since John the 23rd has kept faithful to that promise and has gone further and deepened that relationship. Benedict XVI, in May of 2005, when he was in Auschwitz, said this was not just a genocide, it was a deicide. It was an attempt to murder the God of Israel by murdering people Israel in whose midst God dwells. And we are now 60 years after the church not only proclaimed, but lived and acted out these profound religious changes. And now we're in the first steps of Leo XIV. We trust him. We also like him. One of the reasons we like him is, despite the fact that I'm not a baseball fan, I want to be clear about that, is that he is a man who knows how to have fun. He is a Chicago White Sox fan, which is the only part of his papacy that is not grounded in serious intellectual and religious thought. But he is a normal person. He's a normal person because look at his ministry in Peru. As Sister Barbara said, he lived amongst the people. He was not isolated in a monastery or a rabbinical academy. So the very normalcy of his goodness tells us that we have much to look forward to in his papacy.
What a significant and touching historical lesson that was, Rabbi. And I really appreciate your emphasis on the fact that he lived amongst the people. I think it's easy for us to preach and talk about things when we're in our comfort zone. But to be in the world, to walk alongside people who are not like us, and to practice what we're preaching, that's something else. And that's a set of skills I hope we can hone and practice and emulate. Thank you. Sister Barbara, I know we spoke a little bit about the relationship between Pope Leo and the role of women. I'd like to ask you, again, as a student at CTU and as a theologian and educator, what message do you think Pope Leo XIV's election sends to the generation of Catholic leaders, especially women, and those in religious life? What message does it send?
Well, it's hard to settle on one message, but if I had to sum up everything that I'd like to comment on, I think I'd emphasize, as he has from the very first public words he has uttered, that the longing of people for unity and the end to terrible divisions, to violence in our world, to wars, to gun violence in our city. Our hopes are really high. He has stressed unity, and that comes from a deep living out of his Augustinian charism, which that's one of the hallmarks. I think if I could comment also on his formation at CTU, building on what Rabbi Poupko just so eloquently shared with us, is that when he was Bob Prevost, he was a student at CTU when it was 10 years old. But from the very first year of CTU's founding, we were out in the forefront of living out Nostra Aetate from Vatican II, the Declaration on Religious Communities, and we were, I think, probably one of the first, if not the only ones, among Roman Catholic seminaries that had a Jewish Catholic Studies program almost from our inception, thanks to the vision of Father John Polakowski, who was one of the founding faculty members, and Rabbi Yehiel Poupko. I was going to give you credit.
That's my son.
Rabbi Yehiel Poupko of blessed memory, who was rabbi at KAM Isaiah Israel, our neighbors in Hyde Park, and was on our faculty till the day he died. And together they built a vibrant Catholic Jewish Studies program that endures yet. And so, as Bob Prevost, he would have had courses that helped him understand Judaism. We would not yet have our Catholic Muslim Studies program. That would come in the year 2000. But as a student, now Pope Leo would have been grounded in a keen sense for interreligious engagement and also for ecumenical collaboration. One of the key reasons why CTU was located in Hyde Park, where we are, was so that we could be right in the midst of the city, close to the needs of the people, and as Rabbi Poupko eloquently called attention to the way that we've seen Pope Leo in his ministries in Peru and elsewhere, very close to the people, and as Pope Francis would describe, a shepherd who is so close to the sheep that he has the smell of the sheep. Mm-hmm. And so he certainly embodies that, and he would have learned that kind of pastoral approach at CTU. And the other reason why CTU located where we did, and not in a bucolic setting like a retreat house, was so that we could be near a major university, the University of Chicago, and right near our neighbor seminaries of different Protestant denominations. And so we're part of the Association of Chicago Theological Seminaries, and we have cross-registration with all 12 of the seminaries that are in the greater Chicago area. And so he would have been exposed to and would have been asked to embody that kind of commitment to ecumenical relations. So I think we have great reason to hope that he knows how to build bridges across boundaries of difference. Mm-hmm. He also knows how to do that interculturally, obviously, from all of his years in Peru and all of his years as Superior General, when he would have been engaging with Augustinians from all over the world. And so the beginning of his formation to have a global perspective would have happened at CTU, where our students come from all over the world, from about 40 different countries around the world, and then go out to serve in approximately 60 countries all over the world. And so that global perspective, and also he would have been formed in a contextual approach to theology. So understanding that the place from where you begin your theologizing is critically important in how you theologize. So there is no one standard theology fits all. It's at CTU we're very strong in understanding the contextual nature of theology and bringing in perspectives of those who theologize from marginalized positions, so that our graduates would not have the mindset that they have learned all this theology and here now I'm bringing it to you in a mission context, but rather that they understand that they learn as much from people in other contexts and theology from all different angles and perspectives, and continue to learn from the people with whom they are ministering. And Pope Leo would be very strongly formed in that kind of ministerial approach, and so I think he's well positioned to put us on a path toward greater unity.
Clearly, and it's just, again, so exciting to have these personal anecdotes and stories and showing the roots to Chicago. And as you've all been talking about, this idea of unity and diversity and how the Pope is truly emphasizing it and stressing not just the possibility of it, but the necessity of unity and diversity. So thank you both. Bishop Gordon, I would like to ask you, how might Pope Leo XIV's global outlook, as we've been talking about, and pastoral style shape the church's engagement with people of other faiths, even those who are spiritual but not religious. How do you think his approach and his outlook will engage or not engage people of other faiths?
Well, in the line of, that's quite a great question, Shayda. But in the line of Pope John Paul, in 1998, I was one of 250 African American bishops that went and had audience with Pope John Paul at that particular time. We studied at the North American College to talk about our likes and our differences. And there was a beginning of a cycle, particularly for me, that led my bishopric in another direction. Under that posture, I literally see the framework of different denominations and groups of Protestant bishops from different areas have all branched and made better relationship with the Catholic Church. At the same time, I'm understanding and I'm seeing and feeling that same togetherness with Cardinal Cupich here in the city of Chicago. His openness and his dialogue, his feeling about what needs to take place for how the immigrants are handled, and how our communities come together, and how we service the cause of Christ together among each other. It's also wonderfully uniting. So I am so looking forward to seeing all of us, even through our council, make this world a better place.
How does this feel for you in terms of a local impact in Chicago? How does this election look?
Well, I think, Shayda, that the Rabbi has filled the cup, and I agree that Sister Barbara has put a cap on it. I just want to tighten the cap with one little simple phrase that I stated when I got a chance to discuss my desire for Pope Leo. And that is one phrase: what God puts in us, life expects from us. And when we do that, we'll be successful.
I knew you could tighten up that jar. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you to our incredible guests, Bishop Gordon, Rabbi Poupko, Sister Reid. Your wisdom and your insight has been most important to us. Thank you to all of you as well who are watching today, this episode of Sanctuary. Whether you come from a faith tradition, or you follow a spiritual path, or simply care about the values that shape our shared humanity, the election of Pope Leo XIV invites all of us to reflect on leadership, compassion, and the power of moral courage in a world today. From all of us in the studio, thank you for watching, and may we continue to seek understanding together.